Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good day as always. Today I want to talk about something that affects pretty much all of us at a certain point in our life, and that is whether or not we should have a bank account, a shared bank account with those that we're in a relationship with, right? So your boyfriend or your girlfriend. I'm going to leave husband and wives out of this because I'm not married and I'm probably just not qualified to talk about that because that's a different scenario. But should you share a bank account with them? Now, the reason why I want to make this video is because when it comes to relationships, right, finances play a huge part in that. And if you look at some of the #1 reasons why people end a relationship, it's not surprising that financial reasons are right up there. So I wanted to talk about it today. You know, during my time at the credit union, I saw a lot of people who shared bank accounts and it was totally fine. And I saw a lot of people that shared bank accounts and it was absolutely not fine. So this is an important decision and you absolutely should have this conversation with your partner. I do want to say that I have my own biases and tendencies towards how I feel about this subject, and so I'm not saying that I'm right, and I'm not saying I'm wrong either, right? This is just my opinion, but as always, I'd love to know what you think, but let's just go ahead and dive right in. So right off the bat, I do want to say that I personally do not want to share a bank account with someone else, and that has nothing to do with lack of love or caring for the person. I'm lucky enough to be in a long-term relationships where she doesn't want to have a shared bank account with me, and so it actually works out fine. But if you look at this really simply, right, either someone is probably good with their finances or not good with their finances, right? And so let's look at it this way. If you get two people that decide to share a bank account and both of them are not good with their finances, that to me just sounds like a recipe for disaster, right? Pretty easy to see that that could go south quickly. Now, on the other hand, let's say you get someone who's good with their finances and someone who's not good with their finances to share a bank account, right? Well, there's a potential that there's no issues at all, but it also seems like there's another chance for that person who's not quite there with their finances just yet to cause some tension later on down the road. So again, that's kind of a toss-up, but it could also go south as well. And then lastly, clearly, if you get two people who are good with their finances to share a bank account, I'm assuming everything's probably going to be just fine. But my only caveat with that is that they're probably fine with their own individual accounts as well. Right? So that is a very elementary way of looking at this. And so what I want to do next is break this down into some specific cons and benefits and hopefully let that help you make a more educated decision. And so to start this conversation, let's look at some of the cons to sharing a bank account with someone. And I actually asked for my girlfriend's opinions on this because even though we feel the same way about this situation, I wanted to know what some of her perspectives were. And one thing that she came up with is one of the biggest reasons is that sharing a bank account with someone else potentially limits your level of independence, right? And I kind of wrote down something similar in that it potentially limits your own personal finance journey, right? Especially if you're like in your early 20s, maybe you've just gotten your first job, right? Sharing a bank account with someone else may, I don't know, just kind of distorts your actual finances, right? Because it's hard to keep them separate. Even if you have within that shared account your own checking and she has her own checking or he has his own checking, right? I still prefer an individual account because when things are negative, right, if you've got issues with your finances, it's on you more than likely, and so you know what you need to fix and pay attention to. Likewise, when things are going well, right, it's on you, right? So her way of saying it is your own level of independence, which I agree with. I prefer to have my own bank account. She prefers to have her own bank account. But that's one of the biggest things for her. Another thing that she mentioned, which absolutely makes sense, is, you know, I hate to say this, but if things fail, right, if you need to end a relationship, I would much rather have my own account and they have their own account. And so there's really no issue with dividing funds or separating things if the relationship fails because you don't share an account. You each have your own thing and it's just easy to move on afterwards, right? So that kind of ties in to having your own level of independence, but it also allows you the security of knowing where you stand and if anything should change that you're taken care of, right? Because you've got things separate. Next, another thing I want to mention is finances and tension in a relationship, right? And it's not to say that you can't have tension when it comes to your finances with separate accounts, but I imagine it's much more amplified when you have one account, right? If the account's going negative or things are past due, if there's any problems with the account, you know, it's a recipe for frustration and irritation with the person you're in a relationship with when you share an account. Again, it's not to say that it can't happen on your own, but I imagine it's amplified and much more so an issue when you all operate out of one account, right? So for that reason as well, I prefer to keep things separate. Now, for the next things I'm going to mention, it's more than likely not going to happen. And whether you share an account with someone or not, I don't think this is the number one thing that you should think about. But trust me, at the credit union, I absolutely saw some people run away with the other person's money since they shared an account. It wasn't often, it wasn't an everyday thing at all, but I did see it. And technically, when you share an account with someone, you are leaving yourself vulnerable to that should things end negatively, or the other person is not the person that you think they were. That's such a low chance of happening, but it's technically still there. So if you are sharing an account with someone, that's always something to keep in mind. At the credit union specifically, I had a lot of people think, well, I'm the primary account holder and they're just a joint on my account. But oftentimes, and I would say most times, right, the joint has just as much access to the account that the primary holder does, right? So while maybe they can't open up a loan in your name and that's that, they can't access your funds in the account if they're a joint owner of the account. So it's rare that it happens, but it absolutely can. And another version of this playing out that I saw was where they maintained their own accounts, but each partner was listed on each other's accounts. And what happened there was, let's say one person went negative in their account due to overdrafts or whatever it may be. The bank, because both names are on both accounts, pulled from the other person's account to cover this negative balance. And that's a huge issue, and that caused a lot of frustrations as well for those members. So again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't share an account with someone, but these are the things that I personally think of, my girlfriend thinks of. Luckily, we agree on this conversation. So again, that's where I lean. You probably should not share finances with someone until you get married. And in my opinion, it's not even a wrong or bad thing not to share finances after you're married, but that's just me. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the benefits to sharing an account with someone. And to me, these are really, really good things as well to think about. First off, let's acknowledge the fact that you're probably not going to share finances with someone just because, right? You're not going to do this probably in the first couple of months of dating. And likewise, you only do this when this is a person you want to have a long-term relationship with, right? So if that is the case, right, if you potentially want to marry this person and be with them forever, how would it feel if they said, you know what, no, I don't feel comfortable sharing a bank account with you, right? That kind of seems like it would be a slap in the face because it feels like they wouldn't trust you, right? So if both of y'all do this together, and especially if you make this work, right, that is only going to bring y'all closer together and build more trust in each other. And so that's a huge benefit, right? It feels like it's taking that serious relationship to the next level. And if you make it work, well, then I see that as absolutely a good thing. Another benefit that would be nice for me and my girlfriend specifically is no longer needing to transfer stuff at the end of the month, right? For us, it is we look at property taxes, we look at all the utilities, we look at grocery expenses, we look at everything, split it down the middle, and one of us transfers to the other person. And while it's not an issue, it'd be so much nicer if we didn't have to deal with that. Like if we all had one account where it operated under, right, that's just a lot less work for us at the end of the month, right? Less work for me as well. Now, I will say there is one thing I like about doing that, and that is just that at the end of the month, we're forced to look at our expenses every month because we're tallying everything up. And if I'm transferring more than I usually do, then it's like, okay, next month we need to cut down on this expense or that expense because I'm forced to pay attention to it. And that way it kind of keeps both of us disciplined at the same time. Now, another thing, and it may kind of sound similar, is there's just really less to manage, right? Instead of having multiple bank accounts, we each have our own credit cards, we each have our own, password and account number and mobile banking app and all of this stuff, right? There's just less to manage when you operate out of one account. Again, I don't find this to be an issue for us, but it absolutely would cut down on so much of the small stuff that we have to do when it comes to our finances. And it would just make things easier if we could operate out of one account, right? So you've got your transfers on one end, but that's only half the battle, right? There's so much more when it comes to your finances that more is not necessarily better. And for that reason, I can understand why people join finances and accounts. So all in all, those are just a few things that I look at as cons and benefits, right? There's plenty of others that I didn't bring up. If you can think of anything off the top of your head, put it down in the comment section below. And no matter what you decide to do, just have this conversation with the person you're in a relationship with, because it is such a huge part of that relationship, right? Your finances, right? Money shouldn't be a taboo subject period, and it really shouldn't be taboo with the person you're in a relationship with. So guys, I hope that helped out in some way. If you're facing this situation, please make sure to have that conversation. Likewise, if you've got anything that you feel like adding to this, put it down in the comment section below. But don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. If you feel like supporting the channel, there's an Amazon and a Patreon link down below. Any help is greatly appreciated. But thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, I know I just said this stuff, but let me say it again. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me. And to support you, here's 2 more videos that I've made in the past in case you haven't seen them. Don't forget to share these with your friends and family so we can help all the people achieve their financial goals. Likewise, if there's anything that you would want to see made that you haven't seen thus far, definitely don't hesitate to let me know. But thanks again, take care, and have a good day.